That's what I would conclude from this.
If you want to go forward and set up a collection agency, we can do that.
Well, I think that, that discussion has come up before, and there's been some concerns about whether or not we wanted to go down that path associated with, many of these people that haven't paid probably hardship situations. I can't tell from this, but the reasons are, in a lot of cases, hardship request, mail return, which means that they're no longer at that address. There's a lot of those.
But where there's
one here for $4.90, an insignificant balance. You have to agree that it isn't worth going after that.
No, I would agree. In certain cases, you wouldn't want to write some of these off hardship. Obviously, if someone's deceased, or if there's a small balance. But when there's others where, especially where we can identify the person's still at the address and has just ignored the letters, those we may want to consider turning over to some sort of collection agency to collect on those.
Yeah, because, if I may, because we have one here for $900. It just says no response to collector's letter.
What's the date, Joe?
2409.
That's always been the policy of the...
Yeah, that's it's on the page.
So that's this year.
Yeah, it's on page
And same one on page 2.
page 3, Bob. This page here.
No, I'm just looking.
Yeah,
I'm not looking for that.
that's a $900 bill.
Yes.
And the one underneath
With the
is $725.
collection process, billing process, when we get the bill right now, okay, how long does it take for us to get it over to?
We put it in the mail next day.
It's a mailing process.
Let me see those.
Okay.
At this point, it's a mailing process. Until we get up and running with the computer. Because everything's on a hard copy.
There's a item in here. It's a 12/20/08, okay? And I won't name the person, but there was an address, and it says bad address. And then in handwriting, there's a new address. Page 9. I mean, if we know the address, wouldn't we give this back to the collection agency?
We forward it back. Any information we get, we forward back to them. Absolutely.
So why would we?
Why wouldn't they go
Why
after
would
it?
be in a hurry to write this one off? Then? You know, I look at it as, well, okay, they had a bad address. Fine, we're giving them the right address. So why is this on the list to be written off?
Can't honestly answer your question.
Well, who prepared this list?
This came from Comstock. They told me that
And
they sent out
who
some-
wrote? Whose handwriting is on the list?
Well, we usually went through it, and some of it's Barbara Statz's handwriting. She gave us
Okay.
that, and that's her handwriting on, but she gave us the addresses and so forth that we forwarded.
Well, I would certainly give the addresses that she's provided back to them and take them off the list for now. Give them back and tell them to go after the money.
Okay.
I agree.
It looks like there's a number of them that
I'd like to
this
see
is
them go
Barbara's
over.
writing. She knows where they are.
I'd like to see them all go to
Yeah.
collection.
Well, I think you have to cull
I
out
mean,
the
it-
ones where you know that
Right.
person's deceased or if there's a true hardship.
Right.
Cull those out.
Right.
And then you're
But if
left
you go
with-
through the rest of them, all the bad addresses, if
Right.
we've got new addresses for them, I'm not ready to write them off yet.
No, me neither. Some of them are a lot of money, $900. Yeah,
Policy of the board has been to send 3 letters and send it to the Spirit.
Yes, but if they were sent to the wrong address, as far as I'm concerned, then they didn't get 3 letters.
Okay, no, we did this, we sent it back to them, and they sent out 3 more letters. That is the information that I got back. I mean, I'm willing to go back and try it again, I don't have any problem with that either.
Well, this was printed on 8/18/2009, right? And this, the handwriting on here, was this added afterwards?
Yeah, afterwards.
Right, well then, they obviously haven't responded to, I mean, this has to go back to them. Not every name on the list, but those that we have addresses for.
Can I sit down with Greg and come up with one? We can go back and ask them.
Why do you have to sit down with Greg? Just go do it.
Fine.
Greg? Is there an issue here?
But we will report these up through collection, which I think was a concern that the board had in terms of how far we're gonna take these things. So,
No, I guess what I'm saying is if they had a bad address and we know what the address is, I would send them back to the company that we have and ask them to try one more time. I mean, if they're sending a bill to some wrong address, I can understand why they keep getting it returned.
And I have an issue with the ones we have not received any response. And there's no indication that it's a bad address, no indication that the person's deceased. I think there should be some further follow-up on those too before we just write those off as well. But I think at some point you have to consider turning it over to a collection agency to collect it. No, I have,
No problem with that.
I suggest maybe come back at a further meeting with a modified list of those that are simply,
A modified list of those that, exclusive of deceased and hardship.
right, right.
And anyone that has an address identified, send them back, and then the rest turn over to collection.
That's what I would
Yep,
agree with.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've reached the hour of 7:30. I'm looking at the clock, it's still on daylight savings time. Informational hearing. First article is the funding of the youth services position. We have people from youth services first? Yes.
Hello, my name is James Wasso. I'm the chairperson of the North Reading Youth Services Committee. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. North Reading Youth Services, I just want to give you a brief introduction, just people that might not be aware of what North Reading Youth Services has been doing for the last 2 years. North Reading Youth Services offers year-round social, recreational, community service, educational, and support programs for middle and high school-aged youth. We believe that building self-esteem, leadership skills, confidence, and positive decision-making are key ingredients to a happy and healthy life for our youth. The department works closely with the Parks and Recreation Department, the Police Department, the schools, and local health and human services organizations. We also provide teens and their families with resources for substance abuse, cutting, depression, all kinds of abuse, neglect, counseling, health, and other teen issues. It's more than just a social activity. It's a resource for the families and the children in this community to get help when they need it. We are here tonight because special town meeting will be held on Monday, November 9th at 7 p.m. at the North Reading High School auditorium. A quorum of 150 people is required. Narissa has requested that the town fund the balance of the youth service director position for the remainder of the fiscal year in the amount of $35,000. We are bringing this to a special town meeting because the Board of Selectmen had a split decision and voted 3-2 against adding the funding of this position to the regular town meeting warrant in October. While the decision to fund the position was split, there was a unanimous declaration that this program was an important resource and service to the town. There were some concerns that were raised by the selectmen as to why they may not want to fund the program. We'd like to address some of these concerns now. The first is the belief that it should be a philanthropic effort. Nerissa's philanthropic efforts have given the town 2 years to see that this is an essential service. During these 2 years, it has raised $120,000 to fully fund the position. While the programming is also done through fundraising and other activities, the programs run themselves. The Elder Services Department provides very similar services in the town, and it's clear that the Elder Services is the responsibility of the town. So the question I have is, why is youth services different than elder services? Since we held our first community meeting back in 2006, we've had grant writing committee, which has sent out 46 applications. We have received funding from three, totaling $6,000. We belong to the Northeast Healthy Communities, belong to the grant resource organization in Boston called Associated Grant Makers, and have purchased a copy of the National Directory of Corporate Giving. In the world of grants, the good news is that North Reading is a wonderful community, relatively affluent, with many youth organizations. The bad news is that we do not fit the profile of many foundations are seeking to assist, and therefore we've had little luck in this area. We have also learned that grants do not cover salaries, and will always be for our programming only. Another issue that has been brought up is that there have been no meaningful discussions during 2 years about funding or budgets, and that Nerissa did not come before the board until August. In fact, youth services has been on the board's radar since it was approved at October 2006 town meeting. Funding for youth services has been an exposure on the town's mind since then. Nerissa's 2-year commitment was clear: fund the salary and the position for the first 2 years, and then have it be considered to be rolled into a town position. The schools, the police department, Parks and Rec, the library, and the teen community have all been involved in developing and building this essential department. Additionally, following its creation, Youth Services Department reports were delivered in town meeting in 2007 and 2008, detailing the progress made. The town's annual report also details the department's accomplishments. I would agree that the time for meaningful budget discussions occurs once the value of the service of the town to the town of North Reading has been proven. We are here now. Are you prepared to say that this program is not worthwhile? That this program is not needed by the citizens? If you follow the news and know of recent events in the town with young people, then you know that there is a need for this program. If your objection is simply that there is no money, I understand this decision is about priorities. And as I asked you on September 1st, 2 months ago, please re-examine your priorities. I challenge you to reprioritize. If the town lays off the director, it will approximately cost $11,000 in layoff benefits. What makes sense here? Well, everyone on this board has agreed that the program is worthwhile and useful to the town. So then it becomes a money issue. And so what we're up against is what happens if this is not approved at the special town meeting on Monday night. What happens is the youth service department goes away, and this town will have a serious void that isn't currently being filled effectively by the schools or the police. The youth services department works directly with the police and the schools to add the essentials, to provide direct contact with the individuals and the families and the youth in this town that require the services and the help. Jenny O'Leary has done an outstanding job. Because of her age, she makes a connection with the youth in this town. So who will miss youth services if it goes? The police department will miss it. The schools will miss it. The families in this town will miss it. The Parks and Recreation Department will miss it. The town in a whole will miss it. But most importantly, the children of this town will miss it. there are many children who have been